We're going to use our worm castings to repot a bunch of plants. Come along. Let's talk about some of these plants that I got here. So, what have I got first? Let's start with this one. I have a tiny little baby Monstera Deliciosa. Tiny, tiny little guy. Look at that. Roots just creeping over the top. Also got some little roots kicking out the bottom. I think this one's deserving of a repot, so we're going to up pot this one. That's plant number one. Plant number one, Monstera D. My microphone's going a bit lopsided. What's going on here, guys? Let's fix this up. Sorry everyone. Sure, that'll be fine. Okay, what else we got? One of my favorites. I feel like every plant person says that about all of their plants, but this is one of my favorites. A Alocasia Zebrina. Called a Zebrina because of the stems. They're all zebra-ish. Anyway, this one's good. This one's going great. But it's pretty light, and as you can see, there's a whole bunch of roots in there. So, look at me. Whole bunch of roots in there. Starting to poke out the bottom a little bit. More because this one dries out a lot as well. So because it dries out a lot, it's probably time for a repot. So there's another. We seem to be going from smallest to biggest, so let's keep on that trip. I have over this side, I can't. Whoop! This one's going to fall. You're not the biggest, so you're not the next one up. Don't fall over. Just behave yourself. I can't remember what this one's called. I looked it up especially. I know the last bit of the name is Titum. Something Titum. I'm just gonna have to put it, I'll write it up on the screen. But yeah, again, got some roots kicking out the bottom. And it's very dry. And we also lost a leaf before. Forgot to mention that. We lost a leaf. It's getting a bit long and leggy, so we might have to give it a trellis or just a support pole. And there's some new growth coming in down the bottom there. So this one's been going great, but yeah, it does dry out quite a bit. And it's time to go up. So we're going to do that one. Keep moving up. Let's do this other one that wasn't behaving itself. Syngonium Fantasy. This one's killing it. Going super excellent. Very good, very great, very great. How are you? Lots of long and length. Going really well. Would really like to see this one thrive and get bigger. But yeah, again, it's not too bad. The roots aren't crazy bad, but they are kicking out the bottom, and it just dries out a lot. So that's usually an indication for me when plants dry out really quickly. That's usually an indication for me that they just need a bit of a repot. So, Syngonium. Also, perfect timing because I need a plant to create some content. You guys know what I mean. Let's put that to the side. Here is another. This is a Philodendron Mexicanum. Check out the roots. This one's gone kind of crazy, so the roots are starting to really take over the pot. It has a support pole. Let's go over here so you can see the roots. Yeah, roots going crazy there. It's got a support pole and it's just starting to get a bit big and hefty. And it's starting to get a bit top heavy. So yeah, time for a repot. And also that support pole could, go a bit deeper into a pot for more stability. Cool, so we're gonna do that one. I'm not sure how those roots are gonna go down the bottom. And I also have this one up here. Oh, that's very light. This is, I've been calling these Sagittifoliums. I have a couple of them. That's a Mexicanum there with Huntsman on it. Hello, pal. There's another Mexicanum over there. There's whatever this plant is. I've been calling it a Sagittifolium, but I don't think it is. I think it's just more like Philodendron Emerald Green or something like that. Because it's like an emerald red, except it's green. We're not going to go into the emerald red and emerald green thing. Go to my TikTok page and you can, or the Instagram or the Facebook, and you can find out all about that. But I've got one of these over there on a climbing trellis. I have one of these over there on a climbing trellis, and another one over there on a climbing. I've got a couple of them. You know what I'm trying? Whatever this is, emerald green, Philodendron Sagittifolium, whatever. It's getting pretty dry in there, and so we need to up pot it. This one dries out quite a bit. Anyway, so they're the plants we're going to be working with. Now I have some leftover Medium just from some other plants. Nothing crazy in there, just some Perlite, as well as like there's bits and pieces. There's some charcoal, you know. There's probably some potting mix, some soil. Nothing bad in there. It's all going to be good stuff. Here is a whole bunch of worm castings. Now this is straight up worm castings. This is all it is, straight up worm castings. They've dried out a little bit. They're not as wet as they once were. So they're starting to crumble a little bit. So if you mix it up with a bunch of medium, that'd be really fantastic. So they're starting to crumble just a little bit. So they've dried out. I've had them, I used these castings, I harvested them from one of the other worm farms before I did like a mass feeding thing. So I'd actually run out of bark. So I was just like, I'm just going to put this in here and let them dry out for a couple of days. And that's basically all. That's basically what you can do with your castings. I just showed the other people who were in the other video what you can do with your castings, like layer them with bark. You don't have to do that. You can hold on to them like this and give them a couple of days to dry out, and they're ready to go. But here is one of those big buckets of castings and bark. Now you can already tell that things down here are growing, and they're growing really well, and this whole thing is quite fertile because we've got some little, what do you call them, growings? What are they called? Little cuttings or whatever. Some little grow boys. So that could be tomato, that could be capsicum, could be anything, I don't know. But it's telling us that this is good fertile soil for us to use for our plants. So that's what we're going to do. Why don't you come over here and we can just have a quick little look into the castings with the bark. Let's get down here. Cool. So I'm just going to dig around. Now I can already feel that the castings are still quite wet. They're still damp, which is what we're all about. Let me see if I can get down in there. Yeah, so there they are. So that mixed in with the bark, that's just going to make a really fantastic medium. So I do have some Perlite in the bag over there, but we might not need it. I'm probably going to use some extra castings because we'll use that. That'll be fantastic. So yeah, so it's really dry on top, and most of the moisture for the castings is still trapped down there. So like here's one of them. So that's still a little bit wet. Can still be squished into some muddy little ball. But yeah, there's going to be heaps of great nutrients in there for your plants. Let's get into this, because I'm hopefully going to be done with this within an hour, because I got to keep moving. All right, here's a big bag of perlite or perlite. I'm still working on putting these up online. Hopefully I'm going to be selling them real soon. Just got a couple of extra things I've got to organize. It's taken a long time to get there, partly because I'm lazy, but anyway. And also here's some other medium. This is really, really good, fresh, new stuff, hasn't been used yet. I don't imagine we're going to use it, but I'll keep it on side just in case. The reason I don't think we're going to be using that is because most most of the plants that we're going to be potting, they're the bigger ones, and they're starting to really dry out. So I'm just going to give them pretty much castings and maybe some bark and stuff like that, because that'll help retain a lot of moisture. And we don't need so much aeration. Maybe for the smaller ones we'll need a bit of aeration, but the big boys not so much. I'm also going to adjust this Kimura just a little bit. Let's start from the start. Let's start from the bottom. Started from the bottom, now we're here. Now the whole team. Okay, so I've got this little Monstera. I've got a pot for it to go in. Give me a sec. Let me go. Let's go grab it. It's just, I can see it right here. Cool. So we're going from in here to there. Great. Oh yeah, cool. That's a good sign. So it's getting top heavy. It's getting a bit dry. Right. You've seen me do this a million times on TikTok, but here we are. So I'm just going to put some drainage stuff down the bottom of our pot. That's castings and bark in there. Just straight castings and bark. Let's get that out. Ah, cool. Happy little Vegemite. Everything looks really good. Okay. Also got some charcoal in there. That's great. Pop that in. It's going to go down like that. Push those roots down the bottom. I'm also going to get just some of the straight worm castings, just from that big blue bucket that you saw a second ago. I'm going to put them in like that. That's going to help everything, like when it gets rained on or when it gets watered from the top, everything will filter down through those castings. I'm just going to top it up with some of this Medium. Happy Monstera. Robert's your father's brother. I can't give you a before and after because this is going to grow and it's going to be really good. It's going to be a real healthy boy. But there you go, there's one. We're going to have to water all these a bit later on, but I'm not going to do that right now. Cool. Let's get to the next one. Zebrina. Now, I believe I've got a pot for that one too. I should have actually organised all these pots way beforehand, but you know, here we are. Now I like this size pot. It's just a little bit bigger, and I think that's going to work out really well. Let's get rid of some of this debris up the top because I'm curious to see whether there are any corms kicking around the top, which there sometimes are. I'm not seeing any. That's okay. Let's give everything a bit of a squeeze. Actually, we might have to put that straight in. Let's actually layer up the bottom with some bark. So there's bark and castings there. Let's put all that down there. And then I'm just going to put some castings right down the bottom. Okay, so we've got some straight up castings right in the bottom there. Alocasia. That's going to go right on top. Okay, so I'm just going to go like 50-50, just a little bit of this used Medium. I'm going to top it up with some castings and bark. Let's just get a bit more of this old Medium up the top. This is just a great way to sort of set your plant up just to go straight into a pot, especially if it's a bit root bound like this Zebrina kind of is. Let's give everything a bit of a tap so it settles in. That's all right. Looking pretty good in there. Let's get this open. Cool. I feel like I can see some corms. That's all right. Let's drop that in place. We don't want to do any corm harvesting right now. Great. So the good thing about castings is it's like a really great soil conditioner. So like it'll help the health of your soil, but also it's kind of like a drought tolerant solution for soil. You know, so if your soil's getting a little bit hydrophobic, seen a lot of that on social media lately. People talking about their hydrophobic plants. There you go. Zebrina. That's actually a bit heavy now with all of those castings. So I might not need to water that one, but it's going to live outside and I reckon that's going to do just fine in the weather. Cool. So Zebrina. Happy boys. Okay, what's next? Oh, that's right. Let's take this, I can't remember the name of it, but we're gonna fix it. I've got some extra pots on the side here. This is another one. That's gonna go in there. It's not a huge up pot, but I think it'll go just fine. I could go up a bit more, but I could go up a bit more. I'm not going to though. This is gonna be perfect for what we're doing. Let's give it a bit of a squeeze. So I'm not going to put this pot in there this time because it's a bit big. I'm going to try and get rid of some of this other medium. Let's get rid of all of that stuff. Should probably check if there's a corm. I've been known to like find some corms in other plants when like I've, you know, like a corm's fallen out in the medium and I've used the same medium in another plant, and then all of a sudden there's an alocasia growing in there as well. All right, cool. So that's really good root ball, really healthy. So I'm just going to give it a bit of a tickle, so we can open it up a little bit. And I'm just going to I'm going to backfill. Well, first of all, let's go in with some of the castings and bark mix. This is castings and bark. And then I'm just going to top it up with castings. And let's put this in with this long root. And then I've got some support poles somewhere. Let me find. Okay, support pole. Here we go. So I'm going to wrap that bad boy down there. But I really want this one to climb. So with this little star thing here, I'm just going to wrap that around there and there. Just get that eventually to climb up. It doesn't want to behave itself where it is, but anyway, let's put some more of that castings and bark in there. Let's go back in. Yeah, now we're getting way more castings than bark, which is good. Cool. Heaps of that medium has gone down. Let's get back in there with the castings and the bark. I see so many Americans talking about worm castings. I've got some worm castings. I love worm castings. Probably everyone's looking at me going, who's that fucking bogan? I got in trouble for swearing on TikTok the other day. I was on Facebook actually, which is fair. People are allowed to get grumpy about me swearing. That's okay. All right, I'm just topping up all of this medium. It's looking good. Cool. I think that'll settle in well with some time. Wish I could remember the name of this plant. But anyway, there's that one. Bit lopsided, but it'll be good. That's actually quite heavy as well. Syngonium Fantasy. Look at all of this extra growth up here. Maybe I should propagate. I'm not ready to propagate though. I want to do a huge propagation video soon. But anyway, what have we got? Can we go up? Let's just get in there. Let's. Oh yeah, it's looking pretty. The roots are starting to get really crumbled down the bottom. So let's just get in there first and see what we're working with. Ooh, yeah, right. right, I think that's ready for a nut pot. Okay. I think they'll be very happy in a bigger pot, like that one. All right, let's get to it. Don't you fall over. Let's castings and bark it up. I actually bought this Syngonium from, I'm not going to blow up his spot, but there's a guy in Shayla Park in Brisbane, Shayla Park. If you know who I'm talking about, well, I mean, if you know who I'm talking about, you'll know who I'm talking about. But all of his plants have all been super healthy. So I got a couple of them from him and they've all been super healthy. Cool, so I got a good mix of castings and bark here. Let me just get some straight castings, put it on top. Now give everything a bit of a shimmy, shake, love tap. Check that out. I don't know if you can see that. It's the, what do you call it? The death plug. It's the plug that the baby plant would have come from. Let's just open that up. I don't know if I don't know if you could see it. That camera's become really bright. Cool. Let's go back for some more castings and bark. Maybe I'll come back and check in on these plants and you can see how well they've grown. It's kind of a bit of a funny one though, because you can't see how they would have grown in any other potting mix. Look, I think that's going to be good. The support pole isn't as stable as I'd have liked, but I think that will get more stable with time. Here's the other thing, is that like there's every chance that all of these pots are going to like sink. The medium's going to sink into the pot, so you might need to top it up at some point, which is completely fine and normal. Syngonium Fantasy, great. Let's get this one happening. I forgot about this one, Mexicanum. Okay, I'm gonna need a bigger pot. We're gonna need a bigger bowl. Let me go get, I'm gonna get 2 big pots. I know where they are as well. I got these 2 bad boys. Just gotta check for spids or spiders. All right, here's a place called trellis. That's coming off. Let's see. Oh, it's dense in there. Let's see what we can get happening here. Alright, I'm going to take this off. There's a tiny little aerial root that's attached itself inside the rope of the trellis. I made these trellis things as well, by the way. Right. Let's see if we can get it out. I kind of want to keep these roots if I can. Oh, I think I can. Oh, great. How's that? Perlite for the win. Real healthy root ball. Excellent. All right. Now that's gonna go in her. Come on. Great. So first I'm going to put in some castings and bark, just like the other ones. Castings and bark, and then some castings. Just for the roots and the health. And then let's put this in her. I should all be happy with that. Where's that climbing trellis? Let's go in there. That should be good. And now we're just going to backfill, and I'm going to go pretty hard on the castings and bark on this one. Let's put all of that in. Great. The reason I say I'm going pretty hard is that like just the root balls are so well established. So I'm going to tuck in all of those aerial roots that are poking out. Okay, that one's also done, and much heavier much heavier, much healthier. All right, we're getting close to the end. Philodendron emerald green, I believe. Oh, it's dense and it's dry. I can feel how light it is. I feel like there's two really big cuttings in here. I don't know how I'm getting. Ah, that's the one. Oh man, look at that. Oh. Okay, the plant's so big, it's moving everything around. Stop doing that. Look at that. Excellent. Big pot. First in, castings and bark, followed by a healthy serving of castings down the bottom. This one's so big, I'm having trouble putting it into the camera frame. But like that, cool. All right, castings and bark, let's go. And for those of you that are curious, I'm like 1/3 of the way through this bucket of castings and bark. So I've still got heaps left that I can utilize in some other plants. Ah, damn, I think that camera's turned off. Anyway, iPhone's going strong, so maybe I just need to get another iPhone. All right, I'm tucking everything in. You can't see anything. Terrible camera work there. Tucking everything in. I think that's pretty good. Right, that's pretty good there. Heavy. Great. And there's all the extra stuff. So hang on to that and use that for some other things. A couple of rocks, get rid of those. And if you're curious, that's how much worm castings we have. So it was full up to about here. And if I flatten it all out like this, so it's pretty full maybe there. So we've used maybe, I don't know, a couple of inches. And that's it. That's our plants sorted. That's our repot. Now everything's nice and like freshly potted with fresh soil. I kind of feel like I probably don't need to give it all a bit of a watering. I know it's going to rain soon, so I might just let that happen. But the great thing about this is that all these plants were potted in like a growing medium like perlite or perlite and some bark, some castings, but it was a very, very light mix. Now we've gone like castings and bark, and it's a very porous, wet mix. And the plants have developed a really strong root system. So the established plants would be able to take on the extra moisture and the dry medium, or sorry, the wet medium as opposed to the really, really dry stuff. So these plants should really thrive with all of this great, fantastic worm castings nutrients that they've got. But yeah, I think that was pretty successful. Huge repot. Some of these plants are going to be super duper healthy now, and we're using our worm castings, and I didn't actually realize I got so much left. So you'll be seeing way more worm castings if you follow me on social media, and I suggest you do. And thanks fam, and you guys are legends. Like, follow, subscribe. Love having you on board. I'll be doing more of this soon. I'm really keen to do some like experimenting with worm farms of like certain foods, to go like real hard on see what happens if you sort of load up a bunch of lemons, citrus, onion, chili. I'll see you on social media real soon. Thanks fam. Bye. We're going to use our worm castings to repot a bunch of plants. Come along. Doop-a-doop-a-doo, 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 doop-a-doop-a-doo. There's a little intro, goes like this.